Hey, ladies and gents, Tony Roseland in the studio, finally here with that tripod head video I promised you guys a while back. I've got half a dozen of mine here, and I'll run through them. I'll tell you the differences and types of heads and mounts and clamps and all of that, some of the gotchas, some stuff to look out for, and make some recommendations to you. How about that? So let's jump in with the first one here. This is a Manfrotto 405. This is a three-way geared head. It has spirit levels on each axis of it. Where are they? They're here somewhere. You can see spirit levels all over the place. So they make a smaller version of this. It is called the Manfrotto 410, and it is probably the most popular three-way geared head out there, and it's probably really all you need. This is kind of overkill, but that's how I like to do my tripods and heads. I like the biggest, beefiest ones I can find because I want them to be stable as hell. The trade-off is that they're heavy as hell and they're usually more expensive. So this is a throwback from medium format and large format days. People needed heads this big to support the weight. You don't need that anymore. Manfrotto is a good quality company. Your tripod head from Manfrotto is probably going to last anywhere from 5 to 10 years before you start to get some play in it. You can service them. I've never had to do it, but you know, if they do start to get some play, they can be disassembled. I don't know how to do it, but you could probably send it back in a Manfrotto for warranty repair or paid repair if you needed to. There are a bunch of knockoffs. Companies like Benro and some of those are making some middle-priced heads that mimic what these do. And then you can go super cheap down to like a Vanguard, one of those things that's going to fall apart on you within the first year or something. So, you know, with tripod heads, much like tripods, you get what you pay for. So buy once, cry once, and just buy a good one out of the gate. It's going to last you a long time. If you buy a really nice one, it's going to last you forever, literally, because they're bomb-proof. This guy runs about 600 bucks. So I think the 410 runs probably 400 bucks, something like that. So a little bit less money, but probably all you need for 35 millimeter, regardless of what lens you're using these days. So what do we got, Tim? How much is it? 300 bucks. Okay, so 300 bucks for the 410. Definitely go with the 410. You don't need a 405. This is way overkill, all right? This one is mounted on my Foba stand in the studio. I use it for product photography in the studio. When I need to shoot products, it allows me to angle down on the product, you know, at a steep angle, and then make minor refinements as I need to. It has a quick release plate. If you're not sure what that is, most tripods have some sort of a lever or button on them that allow you to detach the plate on the top. This is what mounts to your camera. It threads into the bottom of your camera, and then it allows you to take the camera off the tripod head very quickly, whether that's to put it in your bag or to chase a toddler around the studio if you're a portrait photographer or something, whatever, and then it just clips back on and you're off to the races. So that is a quick release plate. Manfrotto makes a shit ton of them. They have tons of different ones. There's no standard there. It's just whatever they happen to make that fits their certain heads. They do have a lot of heads that use the same quick release plate, but it's by no means like a Manfrotto standard type of a head, or a quick release plate. I'll come back to this. I want to revisit this in a minute, but I want to talk about a different type of geared head here. So let me jump into that real quick. This next one is Arca-Swiss. It's made by Arca-Swiss. This is the Core 60 leveler, and you can see there's a lot going on here. What does it do? Well, it's essentially the same function where you have, you can move in three ways, right? You can pan it, you can turn left, you can go forward, all that stuff, right? The difference is that the sensor plane stays directly over the center of this whole mass. So as it moves, let me see if I can demonstrate this here. As it moves, you see it's kicking out to the side, and that center is staying. If there was a sensor here, it would still be lined up straight over the nodal point. Is it nodal point? I don't remember what it's called. I think it's a nodal point, but you know, like when you're doing pano photography and that one point is where you're pivoting from. One of you tech nerds is going to tell me in the comments, I guarantee it. So whatever, you know, whatever it's called, it keeps the sensor over the center of the damn thing, and that's what's important about this. Why? Well, if you're doing architecture photography and you've taken time to dial in a composition, and then you just need to make a little bit of a refinement, it doesn't change your perspective. Let's go back and look at the three-way. So this Manfrotto type, let's say you need to change just a little bit. Well, all of a sudden your camera's way out over here. I'm dramatically changing this, but it moves it from being over the center of the whole thing. Now it's out over here. That changes your entire perspective. So now you have to recompose and everything. Depending on the movement that you made, you may even have to refocus. So it's usable for sure. Plenty of people use these. Is it ideal? No, the other one is more ideal. Is there a price difference? Yeah, there's a huge price difference. So that 410 head was what, 300 bucks, Tim? So the smaller version of my 405, 300 bucks. This Leveler 60 is 600 bucks. So twice as much money for that movement, okay? The other thing you're getting with the Arca head is bomb-proof. Arcas are basically bomb-proof. The fit and finish on these things is absolutely amazing. You will never have a problem with these. They will not fail you. You won't have to be replacing them. You won't get play in them unless you're really brutal on your heads. If you take care of them, they will take care of you. This one has an Arca-Swiss classic knob. It's a knob style. And what I mean by Arca-Swiss is this. This is an Arca-Swiss style plate. Let me see, get it in focus. Come on. There we go. You see how it has a groove down each side? So that groove sits in here. Let me get this out here. It sits in these teeth. You see those jaws? They clamp into those grooves, and it makes it so that the camera can't come off, okay? Arca-Swiss developed that. Now it's just known as an Arca-Swiss style clamp. A lot of manufacturers make Arca-Swiss compatible or Arca-Swiss style clamps. That's all it means. It's that kind, which is kind of cool because you can put one of these plates on the bottom of your cameras and you can move it from head to head to head if you need to, right? So kind of cool. Or you can have multiple cameras with these on them and interchange your cameras in a single head. So whatever works for you, but that is an Arca-Swiss style clamp. They make different versions. There's a knob kind, they have lever kinds, they have all kinds of different ways to tighten up the jaws. This one, like I said, is a classic. So some other things about this. It has two planes of panning. Let me see if I can explain this that makes sense. So you plop your tripod down, it's slightly off kilter, and you use the bottom plane of panning to kind of get your camera oriented in the general direction that you want to be aiming. Then you use the knobs to level the whole head out, right? Above that first level of planing, your head gets all leveled out. And then you have, let me see if I can demonstrate. Okay, now let's say we're level. Now you have one more plane of panning that you can use if you need to go left and right after you've already leveled everything out. If you didn't have that and your tripod wasn't completely level underneath this head, if you tried to pan left and right, your camera would be off axis and it would be rotating like this, right? And that's not what you want. You want to be able to rotate at a perfectly level plane. So that's why it's got two planes of rotation, panning, whatever, however you want to call it. So now this Leveler 60 has about 10 degrees of articulation on each of those axes. And so not a ton of articulation. I use this on my real small tripod that I use for architecture. I have like a countertop one. I keep this on there, nice and small and light, fits underneath cabinets and things like that. And that's the whole purpose of getting this. One downside to this one, besides the minimal articulation, is that it doesn't have any spirit levels on it except here on the Arca-Swiss clamp. But if you notice where it's at, once I put my camera on here, I can't see the spirit level anymore. It doesn't make any damn sense. You'd have to level this all out before you even put your camera on here, and then you don't really know what you're looking at until you put your camera on. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't love that. You really need to use the virtual horizon in your camera or have one of those spirit levels in your hot shoe of your camera if you're going to use a head like this to make sure that everything's leveled out. So they do make some other options. Let me jump up to the next one. This is my main workhorse. This is the Arca-Swiss Cube. So this thing is an absolute beast. What does it do? Well, essentially the same thing as that level 60. When I move the axes on this, it keeps that sensor plane directly over the center of the whole tripod and head and everything else. So my perspective doesn't change. This one has a lot more articulation, 30 degrees on each axis, which is 3 times the articulation of that Core 60. This one also has spirit levels in it, so I can actually see what I'm leveling out without having to take the camera off the thing, right? Also has Arca-Swiss style mount with a knob, classic knob. It's super secure. The knobs, there's nothing wrong with those. They're a little slower, but damn, how much of a, like, you might need to loosen up your schedule if you don't have time to undo a knob, right? So, again, bomb-proof, man. These things, this one actually goes 90 degrees. You can loosen this knob. This is a pain in the ass. This is one thing I don't like about this head. To go to 90, you loosen that knob, and then you bring it all the way up, and then you have to do your axes to get to 90, right? So that's a pain in the ass. I mean, a three-way head or a geared three-way head is so much faster, like the Manfrotto 410. But and in this one, you're not keeping everything over the center. If you wanted to go to vertical, you lose that. So really, the best way to go to vertical with this head, I don't even use this. I just put an L plate on the camera. Really, you can get Arca-Swiss style L plates that come an L around the base of your camera, and I just take the camera off and turn it vertical and do it that way. That way, everything is still aligning center over the head. It just makes more sense to me. This is kind of a pain in the ass. So this guy, 1,600 bones. They call them bones because when you spend 1,600 on this, you're getting boned. It's $1,600 for this thing. It will last forever, probably. The only thing I've ever heard people having issues with is the spirit levels. If they fly a lot, these things can build up pressure, and when you arrive, they're empty. So that's the only thing I've ever heard really failing on these. I take pretty good care of my stuff. I always put a padded cover on this when I travel or even to and from shoots. Basically, if I'm not using it currently, it has a padded cover on it just to protect it. And by doing that, it'll basically last forever. So Arca-Swiss, let's go on to another type of head. And if you're not an architecture photographer, a ball head. So this is a ball head. This is an Arca-Swiss ball head. This is another Arca-Swiss head. Anyway, this is the Monoball P0 ball head. Arca did something a little different with this in that they reversed it. So most ball heads are like this, where the ball is down here, your camera mounts up top, and then the whole thing moves around, right? Well, Arca did it this way, and your tripod mounts here, and the camera mounts on the top, and it works reverse. I'll show you in a second what I mean. Let me get close so you guys can see this guy. Here it is. Boom. Let's see. There it is. So the way that this guy works is you loosen this knob, and when you loosen that knob, it allows the whole thing to turn, okay? There is a little play in this. That's supposed to be there. The manufacturer says that's there for functionality. It also has a plane of panning, one plane of panning up here. You can loosen that. And then on top of it, you can get a variety of different Arca-Swiss style mounts from Arca. When you buy this head, you can get the classic knob. They have a lever lock, whatever. I put a Really Right Stuff Arca compatible lever lock. Why? Because I like Really Right Stuff's products, RRS. So this, I just like the action on this. It's super fast to open those jaws and close it back up again. I like that. You can do that. You can buy these Really Right Stuff locks, lever locks, to put on just about any tripod, and they're super handy. I've even put one on top of this guy. I usually have one on here, so rather than taking this whole thing off, I just have a lever lock that I undo, and my camera comes off of a Really Right Stuff lever lock plate that attaches to the top of this guy. It's not on there right now. I think we're using it on our video tripod. So I like them. Speaking of Really Right Stuff, this guy is the Really Right Stuff BH55. This is the granddaddy of ball heads. This thing is a beast. It's heavy as all hell. Oh wait, let's go back. How much was this one? 300? 400? 300? 350. 350 for the Monoball P0. The Really Right Stuff BH55. This is a traditional ball head style. The ball is down below, you mount your camera up top, tripod goes here, and the whole thing moves around, okay? The fit and finish on Really Right Stuff, pretty much unparalleled. I mean, the stuff is, the tolerances are perfect, the finish is perfect, the durability is literally bomb-proof. These things are amazing. They are proud of them. This guy goes for 500 bucks. So, but check this out. Look at the finish on this stuff. So you have, like, these knobs have this texture to them. So do these guys. The whole thing is just absolutely amazing. So, you can drop this down if you're doing portraits or something. It does drop down into like a portrait vertical mode or whatever. There's some indentations for that. There's one drawback to this, though, that I've run into with like shooting headshots, for example, which is what I was using this for really. If I'm holding my camera, I loosen up the lockdown knob, and my camera is a little too loose, right? Maybe it's flopping off to one side. My tension knob, I have to switch hands, tighten up the tension knob, and then come back and adjust my locking knob. So I have to switch hands. It takes two hands to maneuver this, to manipulate this head. So I found something new, which I really like. Fairly new company on the scene. This is Robus. Now I have a couple of tripods from Robus that I'm really liking. Come on, get in there. There we go. And if you notice, very similar to the Really Right Stuff head. Size-wise, pretty close. It's actually a little bit taller, but the girth of the thing is about the same. The fit and finish on this Robus, phenomenal. I mean, I think it rivals Really Right Stuff. Not quite as heavy. I assume there's a little bit of hollow in the base here. It's got an Arca-Swiss compatible clamp on top. It's got a classic knob, which has some knurling that matches the knurling on the lock knob, and then it has your panning knob. What's interesting about this one, though, is if you are shooting and you unlock the ball so that it can move, instead of having to switch hands and adjust your tension with the other hand, they put the tension adjustment, come on, right here in the lock knob. So this is your tension adjustment, and here's how you lock it down. So you can adjust the tension on this so that when you let go of your camera, even if you don't lock down the knob, it's not going to come slamming down. It might stay where it's at, or you might set it on a slight creep, however you want to do it. But you can adjust it on the fly with one hand right here, which I think is super cool. This guy, $400. So you can buy the Really Right Stuff for $500, or you can buy this one for $400. So you save $100. And quality-wise, I mean, pretty sweet. In fact, I've actually swapped out my good old BH55 for the Robus. I'm using this. It's the RTH-1050. I'm using this full-time now on my headshot tripod because I just love that one-handed action here. It's really, really nice. So I'll put links to all of this stuff down in the description. You know, the 410 head, even the stuff I talked about that I didn't show. One thing that's probably worth mentioning is that there is a head between the Cube and the Core 60. It's called the Core 75 leveler, and it's essentially just a little bit bigger than the Core 60. This one had 10 degrees of articulation and no spirit levels. The Core 75 has 15 degrees of articulation, and it does have spirit levels built into the side of it. And then this guy has 30 degrees articulation and has spirit levels built into it. So depending on your needs and your budget, you know, one of those you can make your decision. The Core 75 is seven and a quarter, 725 for the Core 75. So if you got 600, 725, and 1600 to 1800, depending on which one you get. So there's some options for you. I don't think that an architecture photographer should be using a ball head. It's going to be too hard to get refined movements and make small adjustments. It's going to be, you know, as you're moving the thing around, trying to get it dialed in, it's going to be like a bird head, as Swizzler calls it. So I think that's going to be not the right tool for the job. I would use either a geared head or one of these, you know, types of heads from Arca-Swiss if you're going to be doing architecture photography. Just about any other genre can use a ball head. I know landscape photographers sometimes want to use geared three-way heads and stuff, so that may be a reason to get one of the Arcas, but hopefully that kind of fills you guys in with some insight into tripod heads. And if you have questions, of course, leave them in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so now, and click that little bell so you can be notified when I have new videos coming out. And if you're not following me on Instagram, do that at Tony Roseland. Hit me up with DMs if you have questions. I'll throw all the links down below. If you noticed, there's no ads in this video. I'm not doing ads anymore. Instead, I'm just going to use affiliate links. That's how you guys can support me, by clicking the links below. I get a small taste back from the retailers that you order from. By you doing that, and it allows me not to have to run ads on the channel. So thanks, guys. Until next time, I'm out. Later. Bye. Still here? What do you guys want? More? I don't have anything else. That's all I got. Stay tuned for the tripod video. Coming soon.